7:02, we'll call the Board of Finance meeting into order for June 23rd, 2014. First thing is public participation. Is there any public participation?
Can we wait?
Public?
Can we wait until the issue comes up with regard to the
I'll make a motion that we.
policy
You gotta bring us on.
purchasing?
I'll make a motion
Oh,
that
yeah.
we bring Connor Duffy on as a full voting member.
I second it.
Yeah, I guess it's only the two of us.
Did you hear me, Kathy?
Yeah, you-
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but we're backtracking.
Okay, we're back there.
Okay, Chris?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I'll make a motion that we bring Gloria Mary on as a full voting member of the Board of Finance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now back to public participation.
Yeah, can we, the discussion will ensue with regard to the purchase order system and whatnot, so maybe we can have a get together to see what, a frank discussion of where we are and where we have to be going forward.
Okay. I mean, yeah. We'll decide where we are and where we
Yeah.
want to be, but you can have a discussion.
Right.
Okay, so, next thing on the agenda is the approval of the May 27th Board of Finance meetings. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, correspondence, quarterly financial reports, it's not a reporting month, so that is there. Finance Director report. Sandy, got anything to besides the purchase order system, which is coming up?
Things keep moving along, so nothing else.
As long as they're going along?
Well, I just keep chipping away at the mountain.
Okay,
Go team.
okay. Unfinished business. I don't really have Doug here either to report on anything, but water and sewer plant updates, anything changed, Bob?
No, actually, we're all done with the sewer plant. We had our
Okay.
last meeting a week ago.
Okay.
That's about it, really.
Would you like that removed from the agenda? Or do you want to wait till the open house?
No, actually, the fact that we're gonna be starting to work on the water lines, that should be still left on there so we can keep updating the Board of Finance throughout the rest of the year until it's finished. They'll be starting that, Doug has said that it's starting in the fall, so I think we're waiting for the bids.
Okay. Tech Park update, there's nobody here for that.
I can tell you, boss.
Scott, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
It passed.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Three to
pretty good.
1.
3-1.
We had already gone out for bid on the bridge, so as soon as we get the bids back, which is the beginning of July, looks like we're gonna ready to rock and roll. So,
Great.
and it looks like we have potentially 2 more partners coming in too.
What's this, it's gonna only create 53 jobs among?
Well, it all depends how big of, the Y itself is gonna create more jobs than that.
But 53 out of 10 possible tenants, as far as the tech park is concerned?
Well, we have 4
Well, you're
vacant
just
lots.
on 4.
Right, I'm just doing the phase 1, okay?
But that's even small.
Now, phase 1, it all depends on how big of buildings and
But
Well,
that's
like
only like
the-
13 per, or
Right.
14 per.
so, it'll be a bit more than that.
Yeah.
So. Who told you that?
It was in the paper. 53 tenants for 4?
No.
That's what it said. I said, something's wrong.
That sounds right. Misprint.
Which paper was that?
What do you think?
The
The
bulletin. Wow, they never get
They've
it.
been known to get stuff wrong before, you know.
Easy.
I looked at it and I said, done a mistake.
Yeah, that's probably missing a 1 or a 2.
Okay, any,
That's
it,
all.
okay. Okay, so now we're gonna do the formal policy for the purchasing for town of Putnam items in excess of $100. Now, this came to us in our last month's minutes. I have a letter here that I think you all just got a copy of, an email from Tony. Okay, so I'm gonna read this into, so everybody has it. So this was from Tony. Good morning all, which was myself, Joe Nash, and Bob Barstow, which is probably whose email we have. Good morning all. Seemingly we need a formal policy for purchasing 4 items of the town of Putnam. I believe 2 years ago, the Putnam Board of Finance passed a policy on purchasing. At that time, there was never a limit on items in excess of a certain amount of money. Someone, somewhere, somehow, took it upon themselves to establish a $100 limit on all purchase orders. After discussing this matter with the 3 employees that purchase over 90% of all the products bought, Jerry, Willie, Denise, it puts undue stress and aggravation as well as a slowdown of this process. Therefore, I implore the intelligent Board of Finance to increase this limit to $500. With respect, Tony Falzarano. If possible or legal, could this email be read on 6/23's meeting?
So we
So
have,
it has been, whether I don't know if it's possible or
so
legal.
we have the policy here, right? Everybody
This
knows
was
how
the
to-
policy. Now, this popped up in our last month's minutes. And in that one that popped up, it was still the old Board of Finance.
Yeah, but it's still a law, it's still a law.
Well, it's not law, we've never passed it. It was on our agenda last month to vote. Now,
We passed it when I was on the Board of Finance.
not for $100?
For
No, that was
$100,
500.
Effective January 1st, 2014. Oh, when was that? Didn't you have one before that?
We had a purchasing policy that was just a basic
I thought it was $500.
purchasing policy telling us when we had to go out for bid, that the General Government Committee had done, and that's what everyone was following.
But this, I'm questioning the date on this. This says January 1st, 2014.
That's the date it was supposed to go into effect.
Oh, that's the effective date,
Right.
okay.
So this
What
one
I'm
was
saying
last
to
year.
you, during my term on the Board of Finance last year, we passed this.
To
And
go into
Kathy, you
effect
were
on
there.
January 1st?
That was to be effective on January 1st. Because we saw the new system being in the future, and so we were trying to get out ahead of it. And
Okay, and
that's
that's
why
why,
we
I mean, I
started.
know we passed something. I
Right.
thought it was a $500 one, and this
No.
was new. It was $100
There's
right from the start.
right from the start, it was
Okay.
$100.
And I haven't had time, and I got to Denise late today to ask her if she could find the discussion on it. Do you have any memory of when?
But wouldn't that have to come to the Board of Selectmen?
Yes.
I'm not sure that it didn't. Oh, it did. It was the
I
old
I
don't
don't know.
board.
remember seeing, I
It
don't
was
think.
the
You
old
wouldn't have
board.
seen
I-
it, it was the old board, you wouldn't have been there.
Oh.
Right, right.
This was passed before that to be effective on January 1st. So it's
Okay.
during the time of,
Peter
20
Place. during
2013.
his era.
And it got approved by the Board of Selectmen?
It got approved, I'm saying, by the finance board, I can't tell you if it was approved by.
Right, I'm saying, did the Board of Selectmen
I-
ever look at it?
I believe so because it started with Peter Place, from what information that I've been told.
Well, let's be proactive about this. I mean, that's all well and good, but whether it went to the board or not, let's make something that we want to send to the board now.
Sure. I think what we can do is we can, to make this all legal, we can go ahead and be clear, this particular policy, how can I word it? I can't use the word illegal, but,
Null and void?
null and void. And we can set up another policy similar to this, okay? And I'm gonna recommend changes in here, and we can talk about it.
This isn't a bad.
No,
Like
Does
that.
that have to go back to the
Uh,
selectmen first?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, you do,
Policy
'cause-
came, it has to go back.
Well, see, what Tony has did this, he issued a directive effective July 1st, that they were gonna follow this, okay? And then that's where you got this one, the feedback came from the department heads, well, wait a minute, $100, let's make it 500. Because 500 is when they have to go out and get a couple of prices, right? Isn't that the way it works, when you get something for $500? They have to go out and get a couple of.
Isn't that one singular item?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there'll be one
that's one
single
single,
item,
this
yeah.
one I
Right.
did.
So I thought that $500 would be sufficient for purchase order. I mean, they could go for $500.
Right.
I think the last meeting I had a list about that thick, and there was just a whole ton of stuff over $100. I
Well,
mean, it just doesn't make sense to me to go $100.
I agree for normal stuff, but we also had talked about a lot of blanket purchase orders.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
A lot
Yeah.
of the items purchased by a lot of the people, even the ones that purchase 90% of the stuff for the town, use the same vendors. I have been proactive, I ran people reports that detail for them how much they spent, who they spent it with, and what dates, and what they, what the item was. So, for example, I've already sat down with Willie Busquette. He's somebody that buys a lot and uses a lot of things. Blanket POs have already been created for the majority of his vendors. There will be certain vendors, like for whoever shoots the fireworks off. I mean, that's a big dollar item. He'll have a PO specifically generated for that amount. I don't know if it's 10,000, 15,000, whatever it is. And so if people take out blanket POs, then we're talking about, because, whether you buy from WB Mason, Connecticut Mop, whoever the vendor is, if you give them a blanket PO for X amount of dollars, instantly right up front, it's going to alleviate the need for a lot of POs and all these
Agreed.
POs, whether it's $100 or $500 or whatever. It's the extraordinary, unusual item that may come up that will have to be looked at on an individual basis. But people should, I think, encumber the funds to alleviate, a lot of. You
Additional
won't
work?
have a lot of, little ones. It's more work for me up front, but like I said, I've been proactive. I've already done system-generated reports and got them to the department heads. I've spoken with Doug Cutler, and he even asked, can I give him POs specific to his projects? And I said, yes, we can, but we have yet to sit down, and 2 weeks have gone by. And I know he's on vacation now.
No, is it not?
Well, he's not here.
Here's what I'm afraid of right now. We're not at a point in time to even start this game. I don't think you've had enough input from your supervisors. I don't know if they have the know-how to even get close to even doing the POs.
But they're not gonna do the POs, I have.
So what are they going to do? They're going to give you the work order, right? The rep.
Right, it's like, like I sat down with Willie and I said, okay, you spent this much last year at WB Mason, what's in your budget this year? Let's not use the whole budget amount, but let's encumber, a certain amount of funds, and then when the invoices come in, they get relieved off of that PO, and they get processed and paid, and it will help people from, not going over their budget like they have in the past.
But we're only a week away.
I know,
Yeah, but
I know.
she's been working on this and we've been doing it for a month.
A month.
POs are not brain science for the.
They're not.
I mean, they're just asking for money. And the best part, I mean.
It's reserving money.
We have a $14 million operating expenditure every year, and I'd say we have a PO system, and 95% is under blanket orders. It doesn't slow people down that much.
Right.
And like she said, the big thing is that if somebody blows through it in the first 3 months of the fiscal year.
The system's gonna flag them.
Exactly.
And rightfully so.
And
Well,
actually,
that's the point.
and
It's a
actually,
protection.
our auditors were here today, and the subject of POs came up again, and I said, no, we're going to use the system. They're all for it.
You really got to
They
from an
said,
accounting standpoint.
Thompson uses POs, everybody uses POs.
They use it and you hit it right on the nose. I'm a big advocate of the blanket POs.
Yes,
okay?
there's
Well,
no
now,
reason.
most of this is going to be, and like she
Right,
said,
right.
the best part, well, not the best, but one of the big benefits of purchase orders is even if you kept it at $100, because 90% of what they're gonna be ordering will be under WB Mason per toner.
And I would even go 95%.
Exactly. It's gonna give you the ability to pull out those odd things and say, did you really need that? Did you
Right.
really need this? So it's not gonna be as much workload as you think it's going to be. It's
Well,
gonna
that-
be more oversight, frankly.
Right.
I think you're
It's
right on
initial-
that, but that doesn't seem to be what's forthcoming from a lot of the supervisors.
Well,
I
we
know
were supposed to
Tony
have,
sent me another email before this one, right after our meeting last month when we had a good discussion on this, I thought. And I told him then, I said, I understand their reluctance in learning a new thing, and maybe $100 isn't the right amount,
Mhm.
I'm willing to listen to that. But if it's just a bunch of belly aching that they really don't wanna do it,
That's what I'm saying.
They don't
then
like
I
the
don't
change.
All
wanna,
the structures.
you're gonna have to do it, whether you have to do it for July 1st or you have to do it for September 1st, you're going to have to do it, so they're gonna have to get on the wagon.
That was my next question. My next question is, if you couldn't start for whatever the reason on July 1st, could you start on August 1st?
I could.
Okay, so what I'm saying to you is, you could always start, I happen to believe $100 is a good number. I think if you could somehow phase it in, if you wanted to start with $500, and then in the 3rd to 6th month, get to $250, then before the end of the fiscal year, get to $100, at least by next fiscal year, you'll have a good starting point, and
I
people will
don't
be
see
able.
any difference though in letting it go that long. And I don't see, what's the difference, if they order it anyway, what's the difference of assigning a PO number to it?
It's a matter of reporting.
You know, I mean, I'm tired
That's all
of
it is.
people saying, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know he bought that, you mean he went over budget?
The other thing
You
is
know,
it-
it's like,
I don't think that phasing it in is gonna make a big difference, because let's face it,
Well, I'm just trying to stop the people that are resisting
Well,
well,
the issue.
and frankly, and I completely understand what you're getting at, and in
David, it
situations.
isn't like it's just a week, it's been, you know.
Right, in situations of major change, you have to do that, but this is not a major change. This is standard business practice.
So then why should we move it? I'm against moving it from 500 to a.
I agree with you,
You
I
know?
am too. I would rather keep it at 100 personally.
I mean,
Because
I
again.
mean, we were also supposed to have a staff meeting this week and bring the issue up again to all the department heads, but it didn't happen. But, you know, they've heard about these purchase orders, you know, it's not a subject that's all of a sudden new
Well,
to any of
yeah,
them.
right. I mean, I've gotten a copy of the letter email that you sent to everybody.
The
That
other-
was a while ago.
And no one responded.
Right,
It's
they don't,
gonna-
because they
they're
don't,
gonna be
they
fine
think
with
they
it
don't
after a
have
month.
to do it.
Right, they
Because
think they don't have
I
to,
think
you're
they
right,
think
we'll
that
just
there's
let it
going
go
to
right
be a
now, it's
ton
like business as
of
usual.
purchase orders, like every time they buy a ream of paper, they have to fill something out. It's farthest thing from the truth.
You're right.
So, once they see that really the only time they're gonna have to fill this stuff out is when they're making unique purchases.
Yes.
They're gonna
Right.
find out this really isn't much different.
Because the blanket orders do captivate
Yes.
a lot of your purchases.
Yes.
You couldn't do a PO system running any type of entity where you had to fill out a PO for everything.
Right.
You'd have
And
a
we're not,
financial
and we're not
department
going
that's
to issue
Fortune
them for
500.
utilities, for example, because
Right,
that's,
I mean, and in
So-
reality, you do issue a PO, how do they order it?
for any goods and
It only takes one more
services.
second to grab
Right.
the PO number.
What are we talking, you know better than us, how many POs do you anticipate cutting in a week?
Well, you know what, like I said, I already
Do we
sat
have an
down with,
idea?
I already sat down with Willie, and, I met with him for an hour and a half, after I ran his reports, let him look them over. I gave him some of my suggestions, what I thought, based on what he spent, and, you know, it was a back and forth question and answer, and fact finding, and he told me, I think I need this, give me a PO for this, and for this, and for this. I did, I think I've done about, I'm gonna say 11 POs, and the actual time of sitting down and entering the POs was not even 2 hours.
So what period of time is that for? So the 11
It,
POs?
it starts July 1st.
Right.
And it's gonna take him through most of his next fiscal
Yeah.
year. For example, he uses
So-
A1 septic. So he's got a PO that's gonna, you know, it's dated for July 1, it's gonna hit the books July 1, it's gonna encumber his July 1
Right.
funds. Up through, he figured, he went a little less than what he normally spends, and
Right,
that way it
To make
leaves
sure he
him
has
some.
some reserve. right?
Yes, and so, same thing with, I can't think of all his vendors off the top of my head, but, Winnie Radio, he does advertising. You know, so he knows about what he wants to spend to them conservatively.
But
And
let me ask you
Shopify.
this, are we at a point in time, and maybe Kathy, you know this too, are we at a point in time that we can be successful on starting this program on
We
July?
can, but I need-
July 1st?
We can.
This is the
We can.
this is really the question.
We
in a
can,
nutshell.
if the department heads are willing, if they're gonna buck the system and don't wanna meet with me and don't wanna respond, my hands are tied.
So it really
yeah.
doesn't matter the dollar amount.
No, it doesn't.
That's really
No.
Oh, yeah.
whitewash.
No, and I bet you those
Yeah.
POs that she's already issued probably take up 60 to 70% of his yearly budget.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
That's the
And
point.
she-
And
did it
we
in
are
2
gonna
hours.
sit down, there's a couple things that are very specific he has contracts for.
Yeah.
We're gonna create POs with those exact dollar amounts for those vendors. When the invoice comes in, it's gonna relieve the PO, I mean, the encumbrance is there, the funds are reserved.
Can I
It's-
ask, how many departments haven't contacted you about your
The
memo?
only one that has
Is Willie?
is Willie. I have spoken with Missy, we
Okay.
haven't actually met with, but, you know, I have been proactive with everybody. No one came to me.
Well, I think probably for some people, it's not that big a deal, so maybe you haven't heard about them, I mean, probably
It's not
Missy-
big of a deal for her.
Right,
No.
I mean, it's not like Missy has never heard of this before, where some of the guys, I'm probably
As
sure
long as
are.
school department-
You know, in economic
Yeah.
development, I mean, they
as long
spend
as school
$5,000 a
department,
month
Yeah,
on
well,
They,
consultation.
Willie's,
Jerry's and Willie's.
and
And-
also Denise.
Denise,
Yeah.
so you're here, Denise, can you type and talk at the same time?
I'm sorry?
Quite frankly, I'm not worried about Denise
I
because
know, but
she
I
and I,
just, yeah.
I need the reports, you give them to Doug, that's the black hole, and I will not see them.
oh, I get that.
So, whatever you gave him, I need, and then we can blow it out in half hour, won't be a problem.
Most of your stuff I think is like with WB Mason in the town and
Yeah, and,
whatever.
and I used to do blanket orders for automotive, so this is not.
And his stuff is gonna be rather specific because of his projects, so.
So the email that Mayor Falzarano, the 3 people that he said were having trouble with this, well,
Who was,
apparently he didn't ask her, but he thought he put her name down there, Denise,
Oh.
Willie, and Jerry.
Oh, no, you mean $100?
Yeah,
I said without a blanket order,
yeah,
$100 would be cumbersome.
yeah,
Cumbersome.
but we were
It would-
talking,
it would
but we were
drag on.
specifically talking blanket
But with
orders
a
last
blanket order,
month.
it's nothing.
Yeah.
As a
Right,
release, you're just,
Yeah.
all
Right.
you're doing is,
Yeah.
it's nothing. But if you don't have a blanket order and you have to.
Well, from my end of as a business person too, buying from
Like I know
a
you've been
town
contacted
property,
with the stickers,
whether it be town, state, or, you know,
then at least you know
You
you
have
have
a-
that sale.
at
Exactly.
least you know somebody, it wasn't, you're gonna get paid hopefully, you know?
If you go over, you're not gonna.
no, but it'll bounce it out, that's
Yes.
all.
So
You
that's-
don't
that's
have
what
to
we
budge.
want.
Yeah.
So that leaves us Jerry, who,
No vacation.
that is the only.
I did see him here and I tried to make it easy on him and I said, you know, for example, I think it's Tiana's Cleaning, I go, just tell me 12 months is $1,260 a month, times 12 was 14,000 something something, and just tell me the expense line you wanna charge it off to. And he's like, don't you have some form that I have to fill out? And I'm like, I'll give you one if you want, but I'm just trying to make it easy on you.
Yeah, you know what, I don't know, I think we should stick with $100 and I think we should stick with the July 1st.
I agree.
That-
If
that's-
Jerry doesn't
I
wanna
agree
come up
with
and
you
learn
on the
how to do it, then
$100,
he's not
I'm in full
purchasing
agreement
anything.
on that, but I just don't know about the July 1st, whether you are in fact ready. I guess that's the question.
It's
The only
their
one-
fault
the
though,
parents-
No.
they haven't
What I'm
done,
saying to you, what if they don't come to you? I mean, it's all well and
Hold-
good, you
hold
can
them
say July.
accountable.
It's not,
Yeah,
they
it's
haven't
time
been
to hold
notified.
them
It's,
accountable.
first of all, it's not an option. Secondly,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to rip this Band-Aid off. It's not like we give them another month, they're gonna be loving it in a month.
No, what I'm thinking of, Connor, is maybe the mayor should do what he should have done to start with, is to have a staff meeting with these people and say, bang, this is what we're doing on this date, and this is the end. It's $100, and we're going forward on it, and everybody's gotta be on board.
Well,
And see, we didn't do that.
Well,
he
that-
did send
Well,
out
he
an
does
email
have-
directly.
Right here,
Already,
he's
yeah.
given them the directive, and this was on
May
May
30th.
30th.
Well, yeah,
So-
but that's a written directive. My management style is not giving written directives.
It doesn't
My-
matter how you
No,
get
no,
it,
hold on.
though.
Yeah, no, I think it does. I think it does. I think it's very important that you sit down with the people that are involved, all of them. She said that we're gonna have a staff meeting to talk about this. They haven't had that staff meeting. You've got to get the people involved that are gonna be, you know, she's explaining the blanket purchase order. That makes a lot of sense to me, you know, and I'm thinking about that. But I think that some of the department heads are just, they haven't got a clue.
no.
No, but
They
they,
haven't got
then
a clue.
they need to,
But they should have gone to.
yeah.
So that's
They
a
were
fair,
notified.
I agree, that's a fair
They
point.
should've.
You know, it's something, I agree that it probably should be delivered in a better manner by the
Yes.
mayor, no question. The
So-
question then becomes, if we give it another month to give him time to do this, is it gonna be humanly possible to get them all in a room by then?
No.
Why
Because even
not?
actually with the staff meeting, that wasn't even on the agenda. I suggested it be added, because I
Because
figured
I'm pretty
people
sure
would be
that
here.
they were hoping that we were gonna give them,
Yeah.
a reprieve tonight.
Mhm.
So they were never taking it serious in the first place.
That's
There's a lot of things they
exactly
don't
right.
take serious.
You hit it on the nose.
So we don't.
It's kind of like you have to
That's-
say in your
that's it
budget,
in
they
a
don't take
nutshell.
that serious. So
I
this is no
think if we're gonna
different.
give them an extension, you know, we're only a week away from July 1st here. So but you've gotta give them a drop dead date, and I wouldn't go any further than August.
That's
And-
it,
and-
1 month and that's
And
it.
Tony's got his time to deliver the message properly. If he doesn't, well then, that's frankly between Tony and the department heads.
I
But-
worked for the state of Connecticut, it didn't operate like that.
Did it
You
work?
got a memorandum and you got a date and it was date certain, and it was a done
Mhm.
deal.
Yeah,
They
right.
didn't even
They-
know
But you
that.
take it, you wanna get something off the ground right, and they can, if you have a meeting, a staff meeting, then you can go over whatever questions anybody might have,
And if
but in
somebody's
the
on
end.
Well, what do we
What do
do
you
with
do
what
when
they want
someone's
to
on
purchase for the
vacation?
next
I-
30
you know-
days?
Can't come to the
What's
staff
that?
meeting.
What
or
do we
say-
do with everything they want to
You
purchase?
use
for
the
next-
process you're using right now, until such time.
You know, that's a good point, I didn't think of.
They'd be spending money that, again, then you
If-
have to
if-
go
if-
back and try to figure out how much they've spent.
That's, if you wanna do this
Can't
right,
do
you
it,
should start
yeah.
it on the first.
I mean,
That's right.
economic
They didn't
development,
Unless you
four
back-
times
unless you
I've
back
said,
it.
Yeah.
Hold on, what's that?
economic development, 4 times I've said, we have to sit down, we've gotta get you some POs. And I go, for example, Lisa Lowe, who gets $5,000 a month, let's give her a blanket PO for the whole year. And certain others. And,
But you could back that up, go on that road. If you wait until August 1st, you could backtrack and still issue a PO off of a rec or whatever, if you wanted to.
you know, but
But if you're
then what
worried
if
about the-
Caroline enters some bill and I don't know it, and then the
Yeah, because
doesn't get
that,
relieved?
the point is the PO comes in and subtracts from that line item.
Yeah.
I understand.
So if they've ordered $5,000
So
on
that
that
would take-
line
okay,
item
all
before
right.
we go to a PO system, we've ruined the whole thing.
And frankly, you know, at this point, unfortunately, you know, if they say, well, these people aren't gonna get paid, they're gonna come to you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You come to us, we get this done in an hour, we get everything set up and everybody's happy, or else you don't get it. They'll come, they'll make the time. It's not the best way to do it, it's not the most friendly way to do it, but I have to agree with you. I think Tony probably should have gotten together with everyone long before now.
I mean, you know,
And he
different
sent
people
out a
along-
memorandum, and that's what it is, that's the way
So,
he
no,
did it.
Kathy-
Now, would this memorandum have gone to everybody, including like economic development? I mean, have they,
I got it.
Economic development got it.
I got
Everybody
copies
got
sent
it.
out.
Everybody got it. And different people that I've bumped into, you know, I've talked to them about, hey, we could do blanket orders, really, it's not that big of a deal. And it'll encumber a bunch of your funds, and so it's not, you're not getting a PO every time you're ordering something.
can we, okay, what's today, 23rd?
Yes.
23rd, I've lost my notes.
But Kathy,
Can we, I'm all for leaving it $100 July 1st. But I think we should send out something that goes out tomorrow or the next day to everybody, again with this, so that they know that number 7 down there, that they are responsible. If they order anything, they're paying for it out of their own pocket.
that's
This
what we
town is
added that,
not
that's the
paying
reason
for it.
we added that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah,
Well, see,
and
that-
I mean,
that-
one of the
that's-
emails.
That's one of the reasons I'm gonna vote no on this, okay? I'm gonna vote no on the $100, okay? And, you know, I can be flexible on that one, but I'm gonna vote no on the number 7. I'm not gonna support it.
Why is it?
I just don't, I think that's unreasonable. all right?
You actually do have, I thought you were kidding.
No,
No,
there's
I'm
no
not.
Yeah.
7.
Number 7.
No, that should have
Appeals
taken out.
to confirm.
This has already been voted on, it's already, it's not,
But we're redoing it to send it back to the selectmen, so we can change this.
Well, see, if they've
Well,
already,
then-
if they've already
Already-
approved it, then you can't. You've
Yeah.
gotta let it come from
No,
them
that's
down
true.
to you. And I don't know that to be true, because we weren't on the board at that time, so I can't. Do you remember, Denise, what happened at that time? When we processed this, it went up to the Board of Selectmen, did they actually vote on this? Do you recall?
Not off the top of my head, I'm searching now.
We should find out
If
first.
the
before we
system
vote
is
on anything.
looking for
If they
purchase
don't find
order.
anything,
So
then
anything
Yeah.
with a purchase order will
Huh?
pop, whether it's Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, it could be an economic development if I misfiled it electronically. So it will pull something. I'll have a better idea after the search is done.
See,
If it's possible, number 7's gotta go. That's way overly too punitive.
But we don't know if it's already been passed.
I understand
So we
that.
can't do
That's why I
anything
said,
with it.
you know, if it can, it's gotta go. That's
I just don't know,
swinging way
I don't know how we
too
vote
big.
on anything if we don't know whether this is actually set in stone.
Yeah, we don't know if the Board of
We
Selectmen.
don't even
did
know
so.
if this is set in stone, so how could we?
We don't know if
That's
the Board of
why I
Selectmen
asked
actually
anything.
accepted
you
it.
don't remember?
Listen,
Oh my God.
I was on the board of
But
finance.
this was, yes.
I generated that.
Yeah,
Okay,
We
what
voted.
happened, but I don't know what the
What?
Board of Selectmen did at
I
that
don't think
particular
they did
time.
it.
I don't know if they took it up.
I
Just
remember-
because we had a memorandum from the Board of Finance, it doesn't mean they approved it
Right.
there.
Right.
They could've said, I don't think I like the looks of this, and put it in the drawer. So I don't know.
It's possible I never got to 'em.
Well,
this
let's,
is another
No,
reason why
that's not
things
true.
might not ever get turned around here if we don't know what happened after it left our room.
we've gotta go, because we're on such a short timeline, we've gotta go into the assumption that, let's give a recommendation for what this should look like. If it turns out that we can't do anything to it, then at least the work is there. Because if you can't do anything to it, then all this is useless. But if we can, then at least we have a document that we can put into place, that we agreed on.
But we don't meet again until like the 15th, right?
Yeah, they're on the summer schedule.
So if it never was voted on.
I know, I don't know how
So,
we can
so
go
what I'm
wrong.
saying,
I
Connor,
we can.
you can't really enact, you can enact this tonight if you wanted to, but it wouldn't go anywhere
Right.
unless we had a special meeting with the Board of Selectmen.
Tony's on vacation.
Well, he's until next Tuesday.
Yeah.
No, it's before the first.
Which is the first, next Tuesday.
Or unless we found out in the meantime that it was actually in
approved.
effect,
Yeah.
right. Then
So
you'd have
could you
another
find that
special
information, Denise?
Well,
Board of
Yeah,
Finance
sorry,
meeting.
looking. If you wanted to get,
The Board of Selectmen can't amend this?
I'm not saying they can't, I think it would have to come back down here first,
Then
So-
go back to them.
So-
right, then back to them.
I mean, if this goes into effect July 1st, and we send a recommendation to get rid of number 7 at your 15th meeting, you could theoretically get rid of that.
This
I'm
was-
sure there's a way to,
This was supposed to be effective January 1st.
Right.
And
So,
it hasn't
and it
been.
wait a minute, wouldn't that tell you that the selectmen never voted on it?
That's not necessarily true.
That's
No.
not necessarily
hoping.
true.
No, because people ignore stuff all the time.
All right, let's say it was in effect January 1st and no one's followed the guidelines. So that means anybody who spent money from January 1st to present is paying it out of pocket according to number 7.
Yeah, well,
That makes no sense, Pete.
no, but,
well, it depends on.
I just don't, I honestly do
mean-
not remember it going to the.
I
board
didn't
of
happen to
selectmen.
put
I
that
don't-
adder on, but it was put on by,
I don't know, I mean,
The
did
boss.
somebody think that it didn't have to go to
I
the Board of
remember you
Selectmen?
bringing this up distinctly, because I was there. I remember that.
Tony
What's
put
that?
on.
The Board of Finance?
No, this whole.
Oh, the
this-
Board of Finance.
Yeah.
I remember the Board of
I
Finance,
remember.
yes. But it would seem to me, I mean, if this is going to the Board of Selectmen, and they went ahead and implemented this, there'd have been a lot of questions, there should
Yeah, I
have been
think there
questions,
would.
you know?
But without really knowing, how can you do,
No.
how can you do anything with it?
Of course, you got the old board, all you got left from the old board is,
Well, Smith,
huh?
For
your
what,
alternate
Board of
showed up
Selectmen?
the other
Yeah,
day.
he was there with Barney, and then, of course, we've got,
Alma
Elma.
Alma
and
That's
Renee.
it.
and
who?
Renee.
And
right?
Renee, that's it, right? No, we got, Owen.
Right, and Owen.
So you got three,
Renee and Owen.
people that were on there at that time, that would have seen it, voted on it, you know.
Why don't you give Renee a call here?
I'll call Alma.
I got Renee's number, I can give her a buzz.
And if they had to
Yeah,
approve it, they would
well,
have approved it sometime just around election time, that's the problem.
We wanna take a recess and see if we can find
I
out?
was gonna say, if you wanna recess just for a few, I can go look at what the search.
Okay,
Would you do
do
a
we have to
search?
vote on that, or can we
Not
just make
yet.
it so?
Just let it recess.
We have to vote?
Go to recess?
Yeah, make a
No,
motion.
somebody make a motion. Wait, why don't we do over it? Why don't we do, oh, no, that's right, she's gonna be here to take care of this. I was gonna say, why don't we take care of Missy?
Motion to
Move
take
on.
a 10-minute recess.
All right.
Second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Calling Alma.
I wanna call Renee. and see
Sorry,
if she-
Missy.
And that's all right, see what.
I'm gonna call Renee, Scott, if we get two different stories, we're in big trouble.
I'm so like, how can this possibly?
How do you feel about all this?
Nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah, just
Oh, I don't
It is.
care.
I mean, I
only
believe
have,
Pete.
like,
I
houses
do.
and vendors, so.
I remember it, but I'm not
Unless
sure
the
it was
Hey,
People
what
have
happened?
common.
I remember it.
We got a
That's the case for
selectmen's
most
question
groups.
for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that
You know,
was-
the first
that's
year
what
we did
finance
these
was.
POs, the second year is
We're
gonna
talking about.
fly right through, you know,
Sort of
it's.
policy.
Yeah. The only
I
one
think
that I
it's getting the
see.
people on board,
Last fall.
I don't have it.
implement
Email.
right away, and then they go from
You
there,
remember
and they live
voting
with
on
it.
this policy.
Mhm.
You know, nobody ever likes change.
The problem I have with this,
But there are
Pete,
too many
is,
that are resisting it, yes. so-
Pete,
It's been that way
Well,
for
I
as
had-
long as I
But
can.
did you guys
this was
vote on it?
supposed to be effective January 1st.
You did?
Yeah,
So you approved it?
And listen.
This was like that $100 purchase order system that the Board of Finance came up with?
I'm almost glad they, because we couldn't get it into
Yeah.
effect for the new fiscal year if they had.
Right.
But
I think it
again,
would be ridiculous to start it late.
I did too.
Well, no,
I
that's
think
fine.
I
The
agree.
numbers,
okay.
the numbers won't reflect the
No,
full year.
right,
So
exactly.
you
You're
might as well
right.
just throw
You're
it
right.
Well,
away.
what they're trying to figure out is, did the Board of Selectmen implement it and vote on it? That's the big question.
Get it right, Alma.
The treasurer,
I've got two
okay.
or three, you can
Talking
email
about
them
it.
through.
Talking about it.
And
Okay.
email.
All right.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just here to make it easy on everybody.
Yeah, all I need is Putnam Town Crier.
With a new,
and then
yeah,
I can
okay.
put
That's
my
what they're
email.
number two, so.
No,
But you
because we
don't
purchased
remember
pretty
yes or
much
no if you
everything
did
that
vote
we
on it,
did for the
exactly.
next
Okay.
month
No.
or two,
Okay.
unless something
What?
blows up.
Mhm.
And if
I
it does, I'll
remember
just
him
take
bringing
like
it
the
up.
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, Denise,
I remember
we-
the
I wanna say it was mid
If you've got a.
2013, I would say thereabouts.
Yeah.
Sure, it never gets taken, it gets taken
Yeah,
out
after that, it's
of
effective
my,
I know.
Which is even not
out
the
of my
start.
supplies,
Uh-huh.
and I never get the bill.
The middle of
Yeah,
the
well,
fiscal year.
It's like
halfway through.
something with the
Right.
town pays
But,
for,
I mean,
it
ask
goes
me
out
one
of my
question
budget
about-
automatically.
See, that would be good
What
to,
do
They're just
I
looking for
do
news, you know, it's like,
for
what the hell,
that?
so.
Cause it's something like
Try
28
to
minutes.
install
Yeah.
technology.
But I never see a bill.
And I
Never
didn't
see
think
a
about
bill.
see, that's
all
where
the
we
things
could
that
commit
they
one
have.
of those funds.
I
I
walked
said,
in
thanks
and
to
they
Owen
wanted
Farr,
to
I did
reserve
a
that.
survey.
I
It's
do
a
anyway,
public
but
meeting,
I know.
That's
And
my
you know,
problem.
what I
You
do
go to
is
copy with the
immediately,
building Carol or
you
whatever.
know, I never get.
All right,
any-
well,
You
I'll,
can
kills me,
for-
it makes
for
it
this
not
purpose.
easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
hey Carol,
All right,
I'll give you
I
copies of
know.
my bill
Thank
as
you.
I'm doing POs.
see, okay, bye.
Because.
Well, at
of what
first,
comes
she
from
thought they
first,
did,
what I
Yeah.
knew
and then when I
that
grilled her a
I
little bit
needed
more,
to
then she
do
backtracked and said,
well.
she
And I
says she
deducted
remembers it,
immediately
and she doesn't
off
know
of
if it
that
was
line item.
Sandy
So that
talking
I know
about it or what,
the
but
full-
she's
it's already
not
spoken.
100% sure.
Yeah, I
if
did,
it voted on it.
yeah,
Even
I mean,
though
I
I got the
remember
bill,
Pete doing it,
the
I
money's
remember he
already
requested it,
used
I
up.
remember why,
And then I worked.
but I don't
Like little
remember.
adjustment.
Yep.
But that was the one that I wanted to
Well, we
ask.
wait.
Because he hang up on
I
me.
think it's search.
I've called him before.
Just
It's the
Pete
only
Seraphin, you
one
mean?
that I don't.
Huh?
You're talking about
See,
Pete Seraphin?
Yeah.
I don't think you get a
So
hold
I
of
wasn't
Jesus.
sure whether it was PO.
Oh, it is.
And maybe
Oh,
actually it
no,
should go to
Pete.
your attention
Ah,
so
but-
you can sign.
How about
it.
Barney?
Like
Get
whatever.
Barney
I called Barney.
Okay.
You know, I really
Well, I
don't
don't- you know.
They can pay
Call
for it and
Renee.
deduct it.
I thought I
And
had
I
a
know
number, I
that
just
they
never
still
emailed
deduct
stuff.
it because I
My
see
phone
it.
number.
Cause
as
number
an-
seven
not
definitely
as an
sounds like.
adjustment, but
Pete Seraphin.
I
As an
see the
expense.
total, well, I see the total and I can usually
Anybody
take off,
here?
I
See,
multiply it
I
by
had
month
seen
and
it
I can
before.
find, you know, what they
And I
paid
remember
for
that
already,
section
give or
in
take
there
a
saying,
month.
that's not
You
gonna
know,
fly.
I know it's
Well,
all.
And then that was it,
gone,
it was
Yeah.
just
but
sort of
it's
like,
not something that
the
Carol.
Board of
would-
I'm
Finance.
telling
I
you, you know why, you know why I'll bet that that's Barney?
Okay,
Because
Well,
that's,
I'll find
You know
out
why?
No,
what,
Peter Benoit
I
wrote
think
this
it's
whole
right.
Oh,
he
yeah,
wrote,
big
yeah,
piece
but
of
with
it.
what
that
input?
they pay too.
He was on the,
Nobody-
he
Okay.
was the,
So-
as
So
a
I'll ask
member of the Board of
Caroline.
He
Finance.
did
I'll
his
just
member
do a
Board of
blanket
Finance, he
PO
wrote
for
it.
Right, so
her.
I got her
If
email
she
too,
wants
I
to
don't have her phone
continue
number.
to
Yeah, weird,
charge
I thought I had her
by
number.
I thought he
Yep.
Because I
Just
talked
do
to her
it.
before,
Try
it
to
always
stop
comes
them.
up with her
Yeah.
email.
Oh, no, he put a
Yeah.
purchase order
Yeah,
together.
$28.
They put a
for
procedure.
Yep.
Renee would remember though, I'm
But
pretty sure
yeah,
she
I've
would.
only got two or three, so I'll email
remember.
you. The only one I need immediately is like
Denise has
Putnam
gotta
Town
have a
Crier.
copy.
Mm-hmm.
But now, what happens,
I mean,
you know, I was gonna ask about this, what
I can't
happens
believe
if
that I
they
can't,
send me a
I mean, I remember
bill
it, but I
that
can't
breaks-
remember like when it, I couldn't tell you like in like
Plus
6 months
you-
range.
Yeah,
You know,
like
Kenny,
Putnam
Go back
Town
to
Crier,
the minutes.
it's gonna be for service
Let's find out, Pete.
fiscal year,
When I was,
for this
when I was
fiscal
thinking,
year, and
you
then
could
she'll
always
probably
say
send me
that it was
along with
approved by
it
the Board of Finance,
to,
and
to
you have no record
legals
showing that it
that
was,
were for
rejected
a
or
PO.
whatever
Mhm.
with the, Board of,
Do I
Select.
write on the bill what should be
Yeah, you
under
can-
PO and what was
Yep.
pre-PO?
Yep,
Like,
because
is that
actually,
acceptable?
depending on when the charges were incurred, you
I
have
would
to
say
split the
mid
bill anyway.
will.
to late
Will.
2013.
Yes, because one legal will be for this year.
I went to
where
a
it
lot of
closed
those meetings,
this
and
week,
I don't-
and then the other
This
two will
doesn't
take
even
place
say,
the first
you
week
know,
of
Board of
of
Finance.
July, and then
Board of Finance
There's
we
no
can
rush
talk
at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now
I
we
know,
know
but
she
I went
sends
to-
it
I
to
could
us
type
that
A lot of
way.
Board of
It
Selectmen
would
meeting, I don't
encompass
remember.
about 2/3
Yep.
to
And-
1/3.
so that makes me
depending
uncomfortable.
on
This
which
doesn't-
the, you know,
What's that?
this
Well, it
is-
doesn't say who it's from, or what
Well,
it's
see,
generated,
mine does,
You
it
know what I mean?
mine
So I can
has
just
all of
write
our
all over
names that were on the
that
board.
This looks like it was a
Pre-PO
photocopy.
portion.
That's a photo of the
FY
original.
like
That's,
FY
that's the
13 and
original.
FY
You wrote, you wrote it,
Okay.
right?
Huh?
You wrote it.
Yeah,
If I
Because that's the
remember,
only
you
one
wrote
that
it,
I
you
know.
brought it
yeah,
in.
we have, yeah.
I'm telling you, number 7 was input from Barney Sinane, don't you tell
No,
me
it isn't.
different. Yes, it is.
No.
You wanna know who was the input? Wanna know the input?
You know why?
I'll tell you.
Because that's state. That
Who is
he
it?
is.
Who was the appointment?
Oh my
Tony.
God.
Tony?
Honest.
Well, that's right.
Yeah,
Tony-
and now he's
Tony
making
was
believe
chairman
he
at the
didn't know
time,
anything
yeah.
about it.
No, I'm telling you. The last one was, is in,
It was sometime in 2000.
it was a collaborative
Yeah.
effort.
I don't think the Board of Selectmen, people would remember that, especially number 7.
You said yeah, first of all, you said
I-
yes.
at
Yes,
first she
but
said
then
yes,
she had
and
to
then I-
say
Those have
no.
to actually
Then
have
I
a
pushed
PO
it a little
number
bit
on
more,
it.
and then
I told her she
What do you
had to
mean
get it
push
right.
it? So when you push it, it change your mind?
I
Is that
said, you
what-
better get it right,
I
Ellen.
want
Very
this to
easy
be
for them
yes.
to do.
There's,
I hope to
one
God they
bill
put it
that,
into effect.
The
'Cause
quality data.
we
I think
should,
you,
but
Uh-huh.
but I agree
Getting
with
them on
Bob,
the phone
you
during
can't.
tax.
The
Put that
problem
in
is,
there.
if
If they send you the
had,
bill and it
Because then
doesn't
you-
have.
then
the
you have to
data on
hold
it,
them
it's not
responsible.
gonna be the end of the world.
Even if they
You can
did.
just write it in.
Yeah,
even
yep.
if they went ahead and voted on it,
'Cause
it
getting
still
hold
hasn't
of the
been done.
purchasing department.
It never
No,
been
but
done.
that doesn't
Where's
mean
Bill
it
when
can't
we need
start.
him?
Well, I'm surprised, typically when you go
We
ahead
need
and
a
implement,
legal opinion from,
when you
legal
implement
saying
something like
I don't
that, usually
understand
somebody
if
picks
it's
it
a
up when you're not
blanket
doing
PO.
it.
Why is it $500 okay?
We
well,
were-
that's what I'm
Don't
thinking,
forget,
but it's not.
when
It
when
says
did you start?
Jerry,
14 months ago.
Because it specifically says $100. So
Right.
it's
When
not-
did you become official?
we had Jerry in here for
14
another
months.
meeting,
Oh, okay.
and he told Tony at $100 he'd be having to do, running around doing all that.
Yes, I remember,
And I'm
yeah.
wondering, like, if he has to go get some shovels at Aubuchon, you can't give Aubuchon a blanket PO.
Yes,
Why not?
because Willie Busquets given them one,
Sure you could.
You can
And
give
water
anybody
and
you
sewer
want a
use-
blanket.
because
PO.
they go to
Yeah, it's all
Aubuchon's a
the
lot.
time.
Jerry
Right.
gets
It's
a
a
lot, I
cop-out,
don't know about
Scott.
Jerry, but the
It's a
WPCA
cop-out.
gets a lot of stuff from
WPCA has a-
Martin Lumber, yeah, there's another one.
That's
Maybe
what
you
they
go-
do is they call and say, use the same PO, it doesn't
Yeah, it
change
doesn't matter.
anything other than the records on
Right.
this end, hopefully, that they follow through on what, you know.
So
It's
what
like-
if
if
it's
you
under
have-
$100, you don't give them the PO number?
Yes,
You
they
just
can
buy
still,
it?
no, they
They
can
can
still
still use
release
it.
off of that PO.
But they don't have to.
Right. If
But
they-
it's in
if
their best
under-
interest to do
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, it's gonna come off the wrong line item and their budget's gonna be.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But you know, they have to learn how to do the budget, they have to learn how to do the POs.
It's
One
not brain
person-
surgery.
And,
It
yeah,
really
one
isn't.
person being the head of a department doesn't,
Isn't responsible
for their
that.
That's
budget.
right.
Like
I mean,
right now-
that's the way it is, if they can't do it, then they better go back to school and learn how to do it.
Right
A blanket
now-
order is like a credit card at a vendor.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all
Right
it
now,
is.
I have
Yeah.
a PO in here for Connecticut Mott, Griggs and Brown, A1 Septic, Winnie Radio, Shoppers Guide, Putnam John Cryer, Aubuchon's, Modern Lumber. Even went to the Putnam Public Schools because they are a vendor for us, and
So
WB
they-
Mason,
yeah.
And that's all for, pretty much for
Willie.
Willie?
I have one in there for me for our software.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so,
I mean, you could do a blanket PO for your total, you know, if
Here
you
it
have like
is,
a
right
single
here.
vendor.
yes.
Do a
Yeah.
blanket PO for
Right.
the entire.
And then
Yeah,
just,
ours,
every time
That's
you,
what you're supposed
So-
to do.
And that's
Yeah.
it.
That's
That's
it.
it,
It's
and
on
that's all.
September.
it's not
So we
more
would've
work
gone
for
to the
them.
Right.
Chairman
It's
Paul
It's
Zabrano
more work
asked
for me.
Peter Benoit to formulate a new policy for purchasing for the town of Putnam. All good, but no penalty for
Yeah.
someone who does not follow this policy, so that's where that came
Number
in.
7 came in.
That's where, and it came from Chairman Paul.
Okay, but keep reading the rest of it.
I emailed Peter and said, we need accountability, and now there is item number 7. I have not seen what a purchase order looks like, blah, blah, blah. So this is in our September 2000.
Who said they didn't know what a purchase order looked like?
Tony.
Really? I have news.
September what?
September.
You might wanna tell Denise
Oh,
the
yeah?
date, so she can
When
search a little
AccuFund is
better.
up and running, we will,
So
I
it would
asked
have
Peter
to
to
been
do a
the-
policy.
I love that too,
I
when
asked
AccuFund is
Peter-
up and running,
Chairman
it's been up and running
Paul
for
Zabrano, I
months.
asked Peter to do a policy for $100 here, $200 there.
Yeah.
Can't each person enter?
AccuFund's been up and running since October 1.
So if,
But this
it
was the
probably
September
came,
meeting.
so probably
All right.
October, maybe we voted on it, 'cause
But
it
what did
doesn't
he
sound
say
like.
before that about number 7? That's what I wanted to know.
I emailed Peter and said we need accountability, and now there is item number 7.
That's not
That
accountability.
doesn't mean that,
Yes,
okay.
well, that's what he was talking about.
I know, that's punishment. Accountability is
Right.
management, making
Well,
sure they do
what
what's supposed to do.
my thing is, he's the one who started this, and now he's sending emails out to us saying that.
But was this all passed in here? Is it-
Well, then I don't have
Wait a minute.
September.
October.
October,
You have a memorandum from the mayor,
yeah.
right, dated,
Well, I've got the minutes of our September meeting where he told you, so we must, well, it must be in front of us, because now there is, okay, wait, I didn't get, did we
September
vote on
meeting, we're on
this?
September minutes, and then we're gonna go to October. In September, he said that you came up with this number 7. for accountability. But then I asked her if this was passed, and that should be in October minutes, whether you guys brought it up in October. Because you said they started in October, right?
AccuFund came
They're-
up
they're-
and
okay.
running in October.
Right.
I don't know, something goes on here, and I don't see where we voted. So it had,
Maybe they voted.
department head should be
Couldn't have voted the
responsible.
month prior, because
That
number
is all
7
fine,
was
Could
and
be
it
in.
gets
November.
automatic password.
Depends how long
She's
something
got
is.
October.
Why do we need this if they don't need purchase order, if they want? No. I don't see where our vote is.
Yes?
Maybe another month further.
Yeah.
Okay, I've gone all the way through
Well, it
December
would
of
have to have been
2013.
tabled to the next
Oh.
one.
Well, we were
For
talking
what,
about it
for
in September.
Yes, and there's
But
nothing
in
on
those
the
minutes, it
agenda.
would have had to been tabled
Yeah.
to go to October if it's not
Want me to help you look?
voted.
We don't seem to really stay in order.
It could have been in the next month, if you don't
Split
see
up
it
that
now.
giant pile.
We just,
Did we vote on it?
The Board of
Finance, did we?
Finance did,
We did?
I know we did. But the Board of Selectmen, I'm not
Sure.
Well, it definitely wouldn't be in the first part of the month, year,
No.
because they didn't even bring it up
No,
until
September.
September.
And I ran from July of 2013
At the end.
till.
Yeah,
till
you found it in
December 20.
September.
That's for finance.
Oh,
This is
you
Board
were
of
the
Selectmen.
selectmen, oh.
So it's not gonna be in here.
You have to look under new business.
Yeah, but these are February's minutes, 6 months before they even brought it up.
Or you get into the 14th.
Is it there?
The 15th. I got the 14th one from you.
here's, Tony talked about it, and that's what I did the 17th. So
Okay,
we
what
were
dates?
talking,
February
this
is
is the,
2013.
yeah, so
So
this
did you
is
look?
Budget time.
September, so here's October, but I,
Maybe
we
not.
already vote for before this?
We go over budget, we go back.
That are gonna be,
Yep.
Yep. I know
If
what
you have
I'm
a
doing.
handle on your budget, you don't need those.
Right, that's what caused the salt to begin with.
Eyes hurt so bad.
But sometimes everything's not in these.
Okay, I've gone through up to March of
I was gonna say
2014, and there's nothing on the agenda, Board of Selectmen agenda.
Well, Scott knows they talked about it because Alma remembers it.
But 14, in other words, January, the new board took over.
Right,
Peter
but
Hunter
no,
had
it
a
was
new
more
board.
around
Right.
October,
But-
November.
But it's, what we were looking at was that October, November timeframe, and Alma doesn't think so. She remembers talking about it, but doesn't remember voting on it.
Yeah.
Right.
So the only
Did
minute
she
really
say she
got-
remembered it?
She remembered, she thought it was something that Sandy, after I pushed her a little bit, she said, no, maybe Sandy was talking about. All you really gotta do is look at the Board of Selectmen for October, November, December.
And I did.
You did, it's not in there.
I'm into June
Yeah.
Yeah,
this
there's
year.
nothing.
You know, this could have said effective date because they wanted it to be effective January 1st, but that doesn't mean it was ever voted on,
That's me.
which is a good thing, because then,
No, it's a bad.
well, no, it's a good thing, because then you can take out number
You
7,
can take out
and then,
No, but we
$100.
can't get this in effect at the first of the fiscal year.
Right.
well,
We can.
you can have an emergency
I mean, we can
meeting.
use that
And just- They don't know
as
this.
the auspices of starting
Right.
this, because you've got it right from the
Take out the
head
number 7
honcho
paragraph, I can never vote
to
on
move
that.
ahead on it on July 1st at $100.
Okay, Pete,
You can't legally
if we
hold
put in
somebody
a policy
responsible for it.
tonight,
No, that's
we
illegal.
vote on
No.
it here again,
So, I mean,
just so it's
I mean,
in the
it's,
record,
I mean, I get the
without
concept,
the number
but,
7,
Mhm.
yeah.
is that coming up for
Just
question?
breaks a lot of.
Just take it out.
And I
Then
think,
we'll leave
yeah,
everything
oh my
on
God.
just as it is, and on your next
Crazy.
meeting, it
Like-
can go to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
Can we come out of recess?
I'll make a motion, we come out of recess.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This is the simplest thing I can think of. There has been a memo to all department heads on the purchase order system. I think that we should take out number 7 here, or revise it, or reword it. We can't find record that the Board of
That's a good way.
Selectmen have passed it. So let's leave the July 1st date, pass it again tonight. They can pass it at their next meeting if they so choose.
Remove seven.
Even though they're gonna be passing it after July 1st, the memos have gone out, we're working with July 1st. Nobody gets a buy on it.
And remove seven.
And
Yeah,
remove
and
number
remove
7 here. Connie, you want to
Yeah.
remove all number 7, the whole wording?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And leave
So
the-
can we have a motion to that effect, somebody?
Motion to addend this date from January 1st to July 1st, 2014, and to remove item number 7.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, so Denise, can you get that on the next agenda for the Board of Selectmen? And as far as the world is concerned, they're still living under the memorandum that Tony Salzarano sent out as mayor that July 1st is.
I had a question, one other question, last question on that. Was there a memo, Bob, that was just sent out by Tony changing that $100? Okay.
He
No,
just
just an email asking us to
Asking
change
us to
it.
change it
Asking
to
us to
500.
make it 500.
Right.
Oh, just a question.
Yeah,
Right.
It's just
request,
a request to the board.
Okay, so we are now done with that. We're going on to new business. Missy, is that the suspense list?
Yes, it's that time of year.
Yeah.
I'm supplying, the Board of Finance with a copy of the suspense list. This year it's 8,000 and change. Majority are, deceased, individuals and a couple of businesses that have closed. I think last year, you guys approved, around 9,000. This year it's slightly less. I've also, given you a breakdown of the amount of this fiscal year's collection in suspended town taxes, 1,970 and roughly 3,600 in interest and penalties. Again, when we go through this process, it doesn't remove the taxes from the tax rolls. What it does is it removes from active to suspense those accounts that my office feels as though are less likely to be collected. If someone passes away, they file bankruptcy, town business closes, the state marshal can't find any assets. We compile this every year so that the Board of Finance can have a more clear picture of those particular accounts that we believe should be active and therefore considered part of the active taxable list. Helps you guys when your budgets come back around again. So I'm just coming here tonight to see if we can approve the suspended list.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the suspense list.
Second?
That was your comment?
Oh, I thought you said second.
Okay.
The iced tea's talking.
Any discussion? Okay, let's see, vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make sure
Okay. All other business? Any other business?
Just one of these is showing, right?
No, good luck for July 1st. I mean, you gotta hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Whoever's,
You
It's
remember
gonna
that when
be-
you hear the grumble.
yeah.
Tony's gonna have to.
But it's only 200 departments.
Do
It's
we have a
Jerry.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Jerry,
Aye.
Jerry and Willie.
Willie